Hi, how are you guys doing today? Glad to see you back on my channel. In today's video, we'll be connecting RTC module to Arduino and creating analog style clock on OLED display. I used following three components for this project: OLED display, RTC module, and the Arduino clone. I bought all three parts on AliExpress. Before we jump into discussing the way this clock should look like and explain the code behind it, we need to connect the components to Arduino first. To start, we connect VCC and ground of both OLED display and RTC module to 5V and ground pins of Arduino. We connect SCL and SDA pins of OLED display to pins 8.5 and 8.4 on Arduino. And finally, clock, data and reset pins of the RTC to Arduino pins A1, A2 and A3. Let's do the wiring. Now let's look at the desired look of analog clock. Our OLED display is 128 pixels by 64. Let's draw a circle with a radius of 32 right in the middle of that display. The center of the circle is defined by two variables holding coordinates: 64 horizontal and 32 vertical. We draw number 12 at the top to indicate where the top of the face of the clock is. We also draw 12-hour pointers around the clock. We are not going to have seconds hand. We are going to have a small circle with a radius of 2 going around the larger circle. Minutes hand is going to be 24 pixels long. Hours hand is going to be 18 pixels long, and it's going to be created with the two lines drawn side by side to give the impression that this hand is thicker than the minutes one. The most tricky part of this project was to calculate position of each hand. To my surprise, trigonometry I learned at school came to the rescue. Having a circle with a radius of r and known angle alpha, which indicates the exact position of the point of the circle, we can calculate coordinates of that point with the following formulas. With a try and error, I have adjusted these formulas and came up with my own formulas for calculating coordinates for seconds hand, minutes and hours hand. Time to look at the code. The code will use following libraries. Libraries responsible for SPI and I2C communication, OLED display libraries and RTC library. OLED and RTC libraries are not available by default and need to be downloaded from GitHub. I will provide the links in the comment section. Now that we have libraries out of the way, we can declare the components in the code. We start with RTC connected to pins A1, A2 and A3. For OLED, we need to declare the size of the display and the reset pin. And finally, we need to set initial time. We execute this action just once. This project is missing the whole logic of setting up time, e.g. with push buttons. The way we set up time here is to execute single command which passes current time to the RTC module. After executing this command, it needs to be commented out and sketch needs to be reloaded to the board, otherwise we'll be resetting this time to the same value each time we power on Arduino. The function draw seconds is responsible for displaying the circle object corresponding to the current seconds reading. In that function, we calculate coordinates using the formulas we created, and when done, draw circle method is executed to output the circle on the screen. We define two modes. One will draw the circle in white, 0 will draw it in black. This mode is used as an eraser. To see if our function works, we construct a simple loop, which calculates all possible positions of the seconds hand. When executed, we can see the second circle going around the clock. To display minutes, we create a draw minute function. It is similar to the seconds one. The only difference is that instead of drawing a circle, we draw a line starting from a center of the clock to the point corresponding to the current minutes reading. Draw hours function is a touch more complicated. Not only we draw two lines side by side to make an hour hand thicker, we also take minutes reading into account, so the hours hand doesn't just jump from one hour pointer to another, but rather slowly moves in between. All functions have a draw and erase modes. The last function we need is the one that will display the face of the clock. First, we draw the center of the clock, which is a small circle with a radius of 3. Then we draw the 12-hour pointers around the clock. And finally, we draw the number 12 at the top. Here is how it looks on the screen. Now let's look at seconds, minutes and hours displayed together. Looks a bit rough, but it is all going to change when we display the face of the clock on top of it. It looks like a proper analog clock now. The clock design and underlying code is ready. We can now look at how to display real time with RTC module. First, we draw the face of the clock in the setup function. Then, in look function, we read the current time with update time method. There is a number of values that we read: seconds, minutes, hours, but also day of the week, day of the month, month and a year. In our project, we would use just the first three. We would redisplay time every second. We compare the new seconds reading with the previously saved value, and if the change is detected, we erase seconds, minutes and hours hands that were drawn during the last update and draw them again with updated position. Then we run the command to output the changed content on the display. Then we save the current time readings so that they can be used in the next run of the loop function. We also need to redraw the center of the clock and the number 12, which sometimes get messed up when performing erase actions. Here is the description of that redraw function. Let's set up the initial time. I'll try to synchronize it with the time on my mobile. I will uncomment the set time command and adjust the arguments. Load it to the board. We can see the proper time being displayed now. I will now comment that line again and reload the sketch to the board. Let's speed things up a bit to check how well our clock holds the time. After 30 minutes, we are still on par with the time shown on my mobile. This is all for this video. I will do a follow-up on this one, adding more info to the display, also introducing setup time functionality. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you got that far, check my other videos as well. I will see you guys next time.